Good evening and welcome to the White Wave Views broadcast tonight, the WWVB, coming to you live from Auckland, New Zealand by the Pakeha Queen, that's me. So now I'm having a little bit of a problem with my screen. Sorry guys. Even that's not, what is it? Oh, it doesn't matter how big the screen is that I see, as long as you can see me and hear me too. There's people been saying they can't hear me properly, and I haven't really got a proper studio set up or a good microphone or anything. So I'll speak louder and closer to the microphone. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the Magna Carta, sovereignty, common law and baptism, and how those four things are intricately entwined and designed to work together in synchronicity. Okay, because for anything to happen in life, you've got to have the components. And those four components, they do go together like a horse and a carriage and a rider and the people in it. Anything in life that gets done, you have to have more than one person, and you have to have different components. Okay, it's like a battery, for example. Say a 9-volt battery does nothing by itself, but if you attach and clip on the little alligator clips, that's another component, but even that doesn't do anything. You've got to have something to attach those little alligator clips to, so the power can come through, the positive and the negative. Okay, but then even that doesn't do anything. You've got to have something to put them on, so that's another component. For example, I make silver colloidal water, and you need the battery, the little alligator clips, and you need the pure silver rod, so that's another component. You need the glass or the container that the water is going to go in, so the container is another component and the water is another component. So if you understand what I'm saying, there's components and teams of people that come together, and that's how things get done, and that's how the world rocks and works. So we're not going to reinvent the wheel with this ministry. The Pakeha movement is looking to be a solutions redress based ministry. Now this has all been born from all the stuff we've been going through recently, and for me, during the COVID hoax, you know, we were all really thinking hard about what was going on. We were quite ambushed. We didn't have a lot of time to think, and that is a hallmark of a psychological social experiment. These have been going on for forever, okay, and we're still having them. It's just something that we experience in life that we've got to get a handle on once and for all. So I see a lot of people, they're floundering around, they're panicking, and they're wondering what to do. Okay, they don't have a channel of redress like other people have. Us Pakeha, we are watching an utter dismantling of our heritage and national identity. We're being treated like pariahs and persecuted, with our history being blasphemed. Now those great works of God in our history are being credited to the devil, and that is the unpardonable sin. We're teetering on the edge of the abyss in this country, and most people just don't really see it. But more and more people are becoming enlightened and really looking at everything and thinking something is terribly wrong here. And I'll tell you what's terribly wrong, and it's you. You're the one that's wrong. We have been instrumental in allowing and letting acorns grow into oaks, and expecting that our government is going to protect us and have the solutions. No, they're not. It's up to the people. We, the people, are the ones that have the power to decide what happens in our community. It's the majority that is supposed to be ruling and reigning. And within that majority, it's the righteous people that are supposed to be ruling and reigning. Not pagans, not mentally deranged people, not rebellious tribalists, anti-Christ people, not people from other religions that are believing in other false gods. This whole country was totally founded on the covenant of God. Okay, and the covenant of God came first through the Pakeha that he sent. And the good treaty chiefs accepted that, and they loved it, and they experienced God. Okay, the modern tribalists, they don't understand what a revival is. And I don't really care whether they understand it or not, because I'm not interested in tearing them down, because God woke me one night and said, you can't tear them down, you can only raise a standard. And so you can't scratch the devil away. You can only raise a banner and do what's already provided for you. So these four things, the Magna Carta, the sovereignty, the common law, and the baptism, go hand in hand. Now, it's not religion. Jesus didn't bring religion. He brought freedom from religion. So if people understand that Christianity is not a religion, okay, it's a supernatural way of life. Okay, no one can come above it. What God's master plan is for New Zealand is what we've got to get on board with. Anything else is just going to lead everybody down the road of destruction. And that's exactly what is happening. It is reality now. The words of the scriptures are actually unfolding. So, you know, if you know them, you've got a bit of a head start. And I know them very well. Most of my life I've been studying the scriptures in and out of a lot of different churches. I ended up writing a book about it all. And some of the blame has to go to the church. They have really mucked up and failed. And you know, they just don't really know what they're doing. And I can honestly say that. My life has been a very bittersweet journey, because I've always had spiritual insight since I was as far back as I can remember as a toddler. I was able to see into the spiritual realm. I just had this gift. Going through school, I felt like I didn't fit in. And I could see something was wrong with people, and something was wrong with the world and the way things... I don't even know where I got that intuition from. But I had this knowing and this knowledge as a child, and it's taken me a long time to figure out what that all is. And without going into detail, I've had a lot of supernatural encounters with God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and a whole lot. And I'm telling you, it's true, all of it. Now, down through the ages, there's been billions of people that have testified to seeing God with Jesus, or having an experience of the Holy Spirit, receiving messages, seeing angels. They're not all mad, and they're not all liars. It's absolute fact that this is what our world is. We live in a spiritual world, first and foremost, and we are spirits that have a soul, that live in a body. Okay, and that body will perish, but the life of us goes on. Without going into detail about all those beliefs, okay, the fact of the matter is we're in trouble in New Zealand. But we have a way out. We have a way of escape. We're just not being taught it, and we are not moving with it. So the Magna Carta is an 800-year-old constitution for the citizens of Commonwealth countries, of which there are about 15. You can look those up, which are the Commonwealth countries. Obviously, it's New Zealand, Australia, there's Canada and the UK, and other countries as well. That are under the banner of the Magna Carta, okay, which came through with the treaty in New Zealand. All of those charters and codes and Bill of Rights 1688 came in through the treaty, okay, because the Parliament was set up under the British Westminster, and that's all part of it. So the Magna Carta was created in 1512 by the 25 barons, which were like a council of men that were sort of between the people and the king. It was King John III at the time. This is in 1215. And what was happening at the time was England was trying to take over France, and they were having a war, and King John was spending all the money on that, and the people were starving. He was having people killed. He was taking people's land away, and he started shrinking the barons' land away, and they decided, right, we've got to do something about this king. He's just going mad. He's overtaxing people. People are starving. So they wrote the Magna Carta, the Charter, and it had all these articles. And they actually made King John III sign it. He didn't want to do it, but they made him do it. And Pope Innocent III, a while later, tried to have it null and voided in the Vatican. I mean, these people think they own the world. This has come through the barons and the people that are really suffering, and the old Pope and the Catholic, he wants the suffering to continue. you know, I mean, you got to see it for what it is. Okay, so out of this whole movement also created eventually the Reformation and the Protestant movement, when the scriptures were finally released to people, because the Vatican kept them all hidden until Martin Luther. We've literally only had the scriptures for 400 years. Okay, and you know what? The Israelites were enslaved for 400 years under the Egyptian pharaohs, the blacks. Yeah, because they're the Egyptian people, the blacks, and that's what they show, do they not? And so that was a white people, God's people, at the time, were enslaved for 400 years. That's the worst enslavement of history. Never forget it. Okay, always use that one when you see that slave thing. The white man's slave trade. Oh, really? No, we stopped the slavery. We stopped it everywhere. But back in those days when the Israelites were enslaved for 400 years, well, you know what? That 400 years is up now. Because what happened in the physical back then is happening in the spirit now. So this is a catalyst. It's a real spiritual moment. And if I can just capture people into what I'm doing, I'm telling you that I have a fearlessness, and I believe that I am ready for this. I've been trained for this all my life, and it's all culminated in what's happening now, me taking the role of the Pakeha Queen. Okay, which might sound a bit wacky, but no, actually, because this is twofold for me. The Pakeha culture, which people seem to ask, what is the Pakeha culture? Well, the Pakeha culture is the God culture. Okay, that's who you're dealing with. We've been the silent majority, and us prophetic people were standing and rising up now. Unfortunately, the churches, which there are a lot of in New Zealand, we're the Bible Belt, they just failed, right? So now the prophets are rising up, and we're the church now. Okay, and we're going to help guide the people and service and actually provide things. We're not asking anything of you. We're going to be serving you. You tell us what you want. But you've got to follow these charters that are already set in place that work. Okay, and you've got to follow those lawful notices that the Common Law Court in England send out. Okay, if you haven't got your finger on the pulse, then you're always going to be under the thumb of these people that are in government. It's not the systems and the construct that's the problem. The construct is all under God, believe me. It's the people that are sitting in the seats that are the problem. It's the who. Who is it? And for me, life is black and white. It's like, if you're not this, then you haven't got a place there. This is why I'm creating our own council and a monarchy. The Maori people have got a monarchy. They've been left to build this, what even they call a parliament. The monarchy, and have kings and queens all that time, which was condemned by the treaty chiefs, and we fought against the kingi-tungas. What happened? Did we all forget about the former genociders of the Pakeha farmers? Did we forget that the Crown actually took land off us too and shrunk our borders and displaced us? Where's our tribunal and Crown Relations Minister? Why didn't we, as the other race of the treaty documented, go along for the ride with the Maori and be allowed to come into the tribunal and listen to those hearings and have something to say about it? No, they kept us out. You know why? Because those people behind the Whina Cooper Land March, they were looking for the sovereignty, because that's what the kingies always wanted, right? Sovereignty. And they took it by appointing a king. These are the people that got the money. These are the people that got the tribunal. They're not righteous people under God. They're not. They don't care about what the treaty chiefs said. The treaty chiefs were the righteous ones, most of them. The Northern Confederate tribes. They became prosperous and rich. They were borrowing British ships and trading goods to Australia in the late 1830s, even before the treaty was signed. They became prosperous and rich, all right, up north. Yeah, they did. The ones further down the line formed armies and got the worst of the aggressive tribalists and formed a kingy. They appointed a king. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you know, when they had the big conference in 1860, the Kohimarama conference, the treaty chiefs just said that we're just not condoning this. A lot of them argued about it. But eventually it became a really big problem. And they started really having nasty wars everywhere. So all the troops had to be brought in. I mean, everybody fought against the kingies. And they say today that, oh, that was the Maoris fighting against the Pakeha for their land. No. No, it wasn't. This was in 1860, 20 years after the treaty. They broke it by continuing to fight. And that's why their land got confiscated. These people that are in the Te Pāti Maori, the Kingi Tonga, and having the tribunal and all of these thousands of organisations, they're those rebels, right? They put the wrong people in there. And even those rebels that are controlling all of those Maori facilities and their enterprises and their monarchy or whatever, they won't let the righteous people speak. They don't want God in there. That's why they're decolonising, right? Because it was God that colonised. He's the coloniser that they hate, not us. They say it's not about the Pakeha, it's between us and the Crown. I'm sorry, but we are the Crown. If all you Maori are sovereign, so you say, then all of us Pakeha are the Crown. Okay, that's why I've got the right to be the Queen. The other right that I've got is it's biblical, that anyone who's born again, spirit-filled, is part of the royal household of God. Yeah, when you're born again Christian, you're royal. We just don't know how. The church hasn't taught people to walk in that. So the Magna Carta is a constitution, 800 years old. And it's got articles in it. You can look it up all about the Magna Carta yourself. Okay, I'm just saying that it's still alive and well, and the common law court uses it. And the last notice they sent out, and I've got it here, I was going to show you. The last notice the common law court sent out was during the COVID, when the COVID lockdown started, right? Literally within a couple of weeks, the common law court sent a notice to every head of state of all the Commonwealth countries warning them that the lockdowns were breaching our rights under the Magna Carta, right? And we're meant to follow, we're meant to be keeping our finger on the pulse when they send out their lawful notices to prime ministers and presidents, the leaders of countries. Those leaders are supposed to be, backing down. But they don't. But that doesn't mean those lawful notices are not alive. They're all alive. Everybody that's ever done a lawful notice through the common law court, all alive. There's a lady, Janine of the House of Arabella, last year she popped up there with some channels and some lawful notices that she'd done because her daughter died through the vaccine plague. And so she started looking into trying to sue the government and all that sort of thing, and she made her way through. Now, also through the COVID, there was a lot of people having meetings in these so-called sovereign groups that were forming, right? Well, nobody's sovereign except for God. He's the absolute power. For anybody to claim absolute power as a sovereign, you're just out the gate nuts. How dare you raise yourself up above God and humanize him? You're deifying yourself and humanizing God. That's what you're doing. All of these things are bringing a curse upon our country. You're doing it. You rebels. You know what I call all of the DEI and the tribalism and all these other false religions coming in with their false gods? I just call them all holy phobics. Okay, and you can use that too if you want. They're all holy phobics. The Magna Carta is our constitution and our right. Okay, and you can enact it any time for yourself or your family or as a group. And what we're going to do is, because I've got all the paperwork, it will all be produced for you, the documents, sent on a PDF, and all you have to do is print it out and fill in the blanks. But you have to be the one that sends it by registered mail, and you have to do 5 rounds. Okay, and once you're finished, and if they haven't responded, that's how it works. Okay, you don't need to enforce it, you've just got the paperwork. If they try and take you into court for something, they haven't got a leg to stand on. They don't want people like me in the court because I know what I'm doing. You know, I don't go out there committing crimes. I've never been arrested. The idea is you walk righteously in life. Okay, and you shouldn't be scared of the police. The Bible says the police shouldn't be scaring people or targeting people for anything other than if they've committed a common law crime. That's it. Okay, so under the Magna Carta, if you enact it, what you do is you can strike on taxes, you can strike on fines, you can temporarily refuse to pay rates, registrations, and all that sort of thing. But you've got to have your ducks in a row, the paperwork, and understand it. Okay, because if you don't walk in the authority, they'll get you and they'll pull you in. So you've got to have authority. I've never committed a crime, but I've been summoned to court a few times, you know, for fines and things like that. Speeding, not so much speeding fines, parking fines, and also going into the bloody bus lane. I wish they would get rid of those bus lanes in Auckland. It's just daylight robbery. It really is. It's so stupid. It's clogging up all the traffic. Sometimes you have to get into that lane to turn left. It's like, I just can't wait to rule the country. The Common Law Court from Great Britain and International. Okay, this is a lawful notice that was sent. Oh, that's the 2019 one. I'm looking for the 2020. Here it is. This was for the COVID lockdowns, okay? The Common Law Court of Great Britain and International sent a lawful notice to all the heads of state, world leaders in the Commonwealth. Okay, this is the 6th of April 2020. This is a week after the lockdowns we had here. Because it started on the 25th of March, right? I remember. I knew it was all a hoax right from the start anyway. Because if you're astute enough, okay, you know what's right and wrong and what's true and false and what's a lie and what isn't, and, you know, you receive all the revelations from God if you open up the portal. You know, I've lived it. I know it. And billions of people have testified to it. Stop saying God doesn't exist and he's some invisible friend in the sky. You're causing a curse upon New Zealand being holy phobic. Christianity. The Treaty Chief said the new tikanga is Christianity. Right? So maybe we should start honouring the chiefs and what they said. They said don't go back to the old tikanga, the cruel ways, the evil. They said worshipping of the ancestors and the tales and fables. Don't go back to it. Because otherwise you will bring evil upon the heads of the nation, and they have, haven't they? They have. They brought evil. But you know what? God's going to respond, and his wrath is coming. The storm is coming. You better stop calling yourself sovereign. How dare you? Only God is absolute sovereign. Okay? Alright? There's a sovereignty of the monarchy, yes, but that's because it's under God. Okay, the whole monarchy construct is under God. It's not about the construct and the system. It's about who's sitting on the throne. Who's sitting in those seats of power and decision making. It's the who. Okay, it's the who. And we've got to be the who in it as well. So this is to all the world leaders. You know, it's we the people. The light's not bright enough at the moment for me to read it. But it's a declaration, and it's a lawful notice to the heads of state, and they just kept going with what they were doing. So You know, they're all defunct. I mean, they're all defunct. Okay, they're a relic. We just keep voting for them. And because we're stuck, we have to vote for somebody. If we don't vote, then all the woke people and the holy-phobic people will just vote for all the terrible parties, and then we'll be in really bad trouble. So we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, really. But what I think is we're sick and tired of waiting every 3 years to have hoping that there's going to be an MP that will represent our voice and our concerns, right? And we got a lot of them. We got grievances past and present. Where's our tribunal as the other race of the treaty? That's why the Pakeha name is so important, because it has legal weight. So all of those people say, I don't want to be called a Pakeha. Well, you won't benefit then, okay, when we take our cases and win. Okay, think about it. Keep it in your top pocket. Stop rubbishing the Pakeha name. It's our language. We wrote it. Okay? Out of the English alphabet. Pakeha is an English word. And we are the other race of the treaty. We're documented as such. Because we started a new nation, and the Maoris were called Maori. Okay, a new name. Because that's what baptism was all about, and that's how it rolls in. Okay, so there was individual baptisms of the chief and hapu, and then there was a whole covenant baptism, and an entire race was washed clean and forgiven of everything they did, which was put the Aztecs to shame, they would. And that was all washed clean and forgiven by God through the hand of the Pakeha, and that's what the haka is about. That's the story and the testimony of the chief, going from death to life by Jesus, by the hand of the missionary man. And he was lifted up beyond the sun. And he had an exchange. That's why they never give you the translation of the haka. They never will, because it's about becoming a Christian. You wait till the world finds out that truth. It's going to be delicious. The truth is coming, the storm is coming, and everything's being unearthed and revealed. And those who have run down the Christian and the Christianity, you're going to feel the wrath, because we're coming for you. We're coming for your fraud, we're coming for your fake, we're coming for your fiction and your foe. I could write a song about that. That'd be a good song, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would be. The storm is coming. The pendulum is swinging the other way, and I want to give my Pakeha people hope and encouragement. The Magna Carta is something that you can enact. I'm going to put my email in the comments below, and if you're interested in knowing more about enacting the Magna Carta for your family, then you can do it, and then you can just sit on that, and that's like a tool in your kit for the future. Okay? Forget the sovereignty thing. You can't just go around claiming you're sovereign and think that you're going to disengage from the state. Okay? The only way that you can totally disengage or prevent yourself from being too linked to the state is to not register your babies with them. Just take your hospital papers home with you. That's your record. And you can record that with the Common Law Court website, commonlawcourt.com. You can register your child and get a birth certificate from them, a clean one. You know what I mean? And the creme de la creme on top of that all is the baptism. The baptism ties all into it as well, because I'll tell you why. Jesus said to be born again and take another name. Now, why did he say that? Why did he say be born again? As if you could. And why did he say to change your name? That's because he knew what the system had created with the name capturing, which was all created because he came Okay, and he came during that time when the Roman Empire had the redress system and the enrollment system. And the only reason why they had that census is because they wanted to know where the baby Jesus was going to be born so they could go and kill him, right? So Joseph and Mary enrolled with the system, but they didn't enroll Jesus. Okay, so that's why they couldn't find him. Plus, they fled from place to place. Okay, and they eventually found who he was. But even then, when Pontius Pilate washed his hands of him because, he said, I can't see that he's done anything wrong. Plus the fact they couldn't give him a trial because why? Because he wasn't registered. His name wasn't registered. I mean, if your name is not registered with the state, they can't even do anything with you because everything is run by paperwork. And you're consenting to the paperwork. I'm not trying to get people to rebel against the government at all, not at all. I think the government is rebelling against us already, and we need to set it correct and right and use a proper form of redress. We don't want civil unrest. We don't need to fight. Okay, what we do is we use our intelligence and we use the charters that we have, and we do a bit of paperwork, and we make sure that we understand it and we walk in it with authority. Because Jesus got his way. He got away from people with just authority alone because he spoke with authority, and he just held his head high and said, don't come to me about your complaint about the Sabbath. I'm the Lord of the Sabbath. Who are you? Do you know who you're speaking to? Yeah. And when I deal with people, I could say the same thing. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I've got a golden sword that, I'm telling you, I can get things done. I don't need people to believe in God. All right? And a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't bring the religion into it. It's not religion. It is freedom from religion. Stop thinking Christianity is some kind of binding tool. It is not. It is a freeing tool. It frees you. It sets you free. It also puts you in touch. If you get baptized and filled with the Spirit, the portal of God opens up, and then you can become a prophet and receive messages and see visions and be woken in the night, spoken to by God himself. Okay? I don't need you to believe in God. Okay? But I need you to believe in me. Okay? We've got to start believing in people and stop having so much unbelief. We have to pick up where the church has left off. We have to pick up where politicians leave off. We're the majority here, and we still have the numbers to turn our country around and to stop it being taken over. So many different groups of people, nefarious people, are vying for control of this country and its minerals and its wealth. Okay, this country was not created for that, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen to New Zealand. Have you noticed? Even though we had really bad COVID lockdowns, have you noticed that since then, though, these monsters, this 10-headed monster that's looking over New Zealand from other places in the world, and they want to implement all this stuff in here, and they're having a big problem. And it's really slow, and their Agenda 2021 ended up turning into Agenda 2030. Okay, because we put them 9 years behind. So there's good things happening. There's a lot of people around the world have been working tirelessly for a long time. There's a lot of quality proof and evidence of things. But my bandwagon is to raise our Pakeha people up, because that's where the guardianship is. That's where the prophet is. That's where God's voice is, with the Pakeha people that he sent here. That's our inheritance. That's the heritage of the people who love the Lord. It says it in Isaiah 54. Read the whole chapter. That God is the husbandry in this country. The treaty chiefs chose it. You cannot deny what the treaty chiefs said in their speeches. You can't keep telling lies about the Pakeha in this country. We're coming for you, okay? And we're going to be petitioning the government. We've got a plan, and I've got a proposal for the New Zealand European people. I want them to just follow my lives. There's a lot to say. There's a lot to unload. I've been doing this for decades. There's a lot for you to understand. Okay, and just stop judging. Nobody else is finding the solution to anything. Everything's getting worse and worse and worse all the time. And yet, like hundreds and thousands of Kiwis in the freedom fighting bandwagon and all the protests and everything's getting worse. Don't you notice? Yeah? And they're quite happy that we don't understand about the Magna Carta and all of that, common law, and they don't want to teach us that. We're all getting bashed over the head with a fake treaty. You know, what I call, you know, these hybrid grifters, these scammers, they're cunning scam artists. And our government has just fallen for it. And I think we've been highly infiltrated, and there's very little voices that are aligning with what our concerns. Okay, we're getting labelled racist, white supremacist Nazis just because we're concerned about a plethora of threats to our national identity, but apparently if you say anything about it, you're racist or you're a phobic. Well, it doesn't wash with us anymore. We're not taking any more of it, and that's why God's raised me up. Because I'm a force to be reckoned with, because I'm fearless. You know, I get death threats, but I don't go on and on about, you know, sometimes I post these nasty things that Maoris say, you know. But I get death threats and all sorts of nasty things said to me, and I'm like, you know, my attitude is, well, you know, give it your bloody best shot. I'm ready to go. I have no attachment to this world. In fact, the Bible says you're supposed to despise your life down here, and I do. I despise this disgusting, foul place. It's getting fouler and fouler. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's parading itself, and there's so many people that are just getting sucked into it. They're not contesting it and standing up. They're too scared to speak. Okay, we've got the silencing and censorship, especially us Pakeha. We don't have any organisations. The government doesn't even mention us, and we're the other race of the treaty. We're the majority here. Why do you think that we don't have an organisation? We have never, ever, in entire history, ever just purposed to come together just because we're white. Never. We're doing it now. You call us racist, right, for the last 50 years at what's come out of the Waitangi Tribunal and all this hate on colonials. You've cherry-picked through the archives and done your decolonisation, your revision. And what you've done is what the treaty chief said would happen. You've cursed the country. It was already written long ago, and they already condemned you long ago, and we condemn you today as well, you rebels, against the Crown and against us Pakeha. So we're following in the footsteps. We're going to have our own colonial mission march planning, and I've got a proposal for the European Kiwis, for the patriots and those people that created this nation and the ancestry back to the Victorian times like mine. My family came in 1840. We worked hard and we loved the Maori people. It was only the rebels that fought. It was only the rebel types, and that's what we're dealing with today. They've radicalised their youth for a couple of generations to fight, because they've been told we stole their land and we've accrued generational wealth off stolen land and all of that, and we're privileged and we're born raised as Nazis. Okay? Well, we're going to take those bastards to court. We're sick and tired of the defamation, the shaming, the blaming and the defaming. You know, we're not playing that game anymore. And the blasphemy of Christianity, there used to be a law against that in New Zealand. You weren't allowed to blaspheme Christianity or Christians. 95% of people in New Zealand were Christians. There was a revival here, and some of those married today, they don't understand what a revival is. Okay, well, the chiefs became Christians. All right, just accept it. And tikanga Christianity is what holds this country together. That's what everybody's here because of us. right? We built the roads and the bridges, and we set down with the chiefs how it was all going to go forward, and the principles are there already. You don't need to make them up. The treaty chiefs already decided together with the governors, and they put those stipulations and resolutions down. And then they went and fought against the kingies, and that was that. We won. The last ho-ho death cult member arrested in 1916. So we're the resilient ones. Us Pakeha from the Victorian era, us families, we're survivors of the Kingite Holocaust. And Maoris might not want to hear that. And that might make them all sensitive. But it's the facts, and we're bringing the truth. There's a lot of books being written lately too, which I honour all those authors, those historians that have done a lot of work going through documents and putting books. Tross Publishing and John McLean just recently brought out another new one. Like, there is just a bombardment of new books. And a lot of these books, the libraries won't have them in there. They ban them. Yeah, they ban Sense of Silence. They've got themselves into such a deep hole. Anybody that's on that ship, you better jump off now. All you Maoris that are going down that religious tikanga track, and those journeys they're taking you on, and how they're enslaving you. Right? They're enslaving you, those people. You better jump off that walker and come back and return to God, like your Tapuna said. Return to God, repent of what you've done, and get on board with making this country great again and being friends with the Pakeha again. What we're going to do is we're going to be self-serving too, because everybody else is. We've got to gather together, us Pakeha, and convene. We've got to edify and uplift ourselves and equip, right, and prepare, and then we can outreach to other people. So don't think we're white supremacists, because we never call ourselves supreme, right? Because we know God is supreme and sovereign. Never called ourselves supreme. It's you that calls us that. It's you that sees us as supreme. Right? Because you see the God in us. And what we did so fast in this country. I mean, you try and go into the bush with cannibal natives and give them the word of Jesus. Would you be brave enough to do that? And that's what we did. We were brave, and we still are brave builders. But we're not going to scratch down, but we're going to expose. We're going to build up. Okay, so the three things about this Pakeha movement is that you're going to be educated about the Magna Carta, sovereignty, common law, and baptism. Okay, because baptism actually has a spiritual side to it too. It's very important, the spiritual component. Very important. Through the COVID, I saw a lot of people paying hundreds of dollars for these affidavits of truth and claim of life documents, and sometimes people were spending thousands of dollars. They were I went to one of these home meetings, and just mainly for reference. I like to see what people are doing. Sometimes I'm a little bit of a humbug detective. I love doing that, being a humbug detective. I would have made a good private investigator. I would. Nobody would have ever thought that I would be that. That would have been my cover, We all have an alter ego, and mine is being a queen. In the days of diversity now, inclusivity, I love it. I actually embracing the diversity now and the inclusivity. I am, because now I can be a queen. Yeah. You want it? You wanted the diversity, and so, I've got to be included. Christians have to be included in the society. You can't just keep us out of everywhere. Our community centres, they've all been taken over by the woke bloke and tribal choke. So you can't get in there. And we built them. They're our settler halls. Yeah, that was our maraes. Yeah, we don't have those anymore. We don't have that privilege. We've been kicked to the curb, and we've been brushed under the carpet and pushed into a bloody corner, right? We feel like we're like an insect trapped in a jar. That's what we feel like. And we're the survivors of the kingies. And I write a book about that. They slaughtered the Pakeha farmers in the Taranaki. They even killed the stock. That's how nasty they were. burning buildings. They're still doing it in places, on the Maori rebels, going around burning colonial buildings, bullying people on their land, their land grabbing. And honestly, I'm telling you, God, the stench of this disgusting, foul, demonic tribalism that's coming against tikanga Christianity, okay, has reached God's nostrils. Okay? It's reached up to the sky and into heaven, and they're sniffing it and thinking, oh my God. And God has to defend what the pioneer settlers and those missionaries did. He has a mandate to defend that, and he is. He's going to defend it, all right, and he's going to come as the judge. He's judging people now. Don't you notice that people are being tested with really strong things, serious things where they have to suddenly make like a really big decision, and they're just, falling the way of the leftist devils. That's the test. We're all being tested. We're all being judged. All right? That's what's happening. And a lot of that is coming through me. Because prophetically, you see, the word of God and the prophet is good for reproof and correction and judgment and warning. That's what a prophet does. They actually remind and they refresh your memory about what you should be doing. They guide the church and they give direction. That's why the church is failing and weak in New Zealand, because they've been stoning the prophets and kicking them out the back door. I know, I wrote a book about it. All my experiences. Yeah. God was training and showing me. I got treated like absolute shit having a prophetic mantle in the church. And I'm sure that there's thousands of other Christians that would say exactly the same thing. I got my book coming out this year. And I'll tell you what, the churches, they're going to feel ashamed. They really are. That's what exposure is all about. It's about judgment. And judgment is good. Judgment is good. We've got to have law and order of God. We've got to have it. And he's going to judge everybody. He just really is. And we're part of that judgment. And we're part of that raising the righteousness. That's what it's all about. Raising a standard, raising the banner of the Lord. Because that's what holds New Zealand together, and that's the pillars. It's not about the system and the structure. It's about who is sitting in places of decision making. So what we're doing is we're forming a council, so we're going to have our own place of decision making for our Pakeha ethnic native white identity and uniqueness to New Zealand. If you want to be called a European, fine, and you're not going to be any different to the guy that came from Poland last week. If you have any patriotic family line into the Victorian era, we want you to email us. I'll put my email in the comments below. Email us if you've got ancestry that goes back to the Victorian era up to 1901 when the Queen passed away. Okay, you already have native rights. Okay, see, the Maoris don't want to share the native with us. That's why it's all Indigi now. Because they know by the 50s we became native. According to international law, if you got 6 generations, you are native. I'm 6th generation. My grandson's 8th generation. We're native whites. I've never been to Europe. So how could I possibly have a European culture? Because your culture is where you're born. In the Bible, there's nothing about culture, race, indigenous, or ethnicity. It's only nationality, which is where you're born. And it doesn't matter what colour you are. I mean, back in Jesus' day, there was black, brown, and white people. It had nothing to do with the nationality. It was just where you were born and brought up. That's all. That's all it is. All this race stuff is all new to divide us. So us Christians need to pull our bloody head in. Okay? You've been tirelessly working, wasting your time, ploughing a field and not planting any seeds. Okay, now you've got to turn those ploughshares into swords. Okay, the sword of the Spirit, and use the word of God. That's what I'm doing. Just watch me go. No one's going to stop me. These death threats, I don't care. I don't care. They can blow me away. I'm not inviting it. I'm just saying I don't care. Okay, I'll say I'll do what I want to do, and I'll do what God's called me to do anyway. I don't care how much you threaten me. I just don't. I'm not going to have any security. Because if you want to blow my head off, blow it off. I'll just, you know, quicker way to heaven. I don't have an attachment here. I don't have assets. Yeah? I don't own land. I don't own a house. I don't have a business. I've got nothing to lose. Nothing. Okay, I don't care about living on this world. You know, who wants to live with this carnage we've got anyway? I mean, people are thinking, oh, should I have children or not? I mean, yes, the white race is being all culled and watered down and interbred with multiculturalism because they want to get rid of us. We used to be 33%, now we're about 8% in the world. Yeah. So who's being eliminated? What did Fina Cooper of the Land March 1975 in New Zealand, what did she mean when she told her people to go to the settler hall dances? Yeah, and breed with the white man? Okay? You know, on one hand she's like, you know, you've got to become one with them to beat them. You know, she actually said, how do we get rid of the Pakeha? That was her policy. It was on national TV, she said it. She's being interviewed. Yeah, on the TV. When she did this land march. She got all the media and everything. How do we get rid of this Pakeha? Marry them, she said. So yeah, go to the settler halls, bonk the white people, have kids, but still call them Maori. Yeah? And that's why we've got 1 million people claiming to be Indigenous Maori now. Okay, because they got stuck in that, right? They bred together, they had children. Now they've got Maori half-caste or grandchildren that are Maori, you know, mixed race family. So what are they going to do when the division comes along that the tribalists did? They're going to go onto the Maori side. Why would they want to claim it? Let's just claim us all as Pakeha. Oh no, because we're the pariahs, we're the ones that are being persecuted, we're the ones that are not getting charity or a voice or a mention or an organisation. Nobody's celebrating colonialism because apparently we have to feel ashamed and guilty about the greatness that we did. Okay, so these European Pakehas with a smidgen of Maori, they're just going on the Maori side and becoming traitors. And that's the whole idea, right? To get the numbers on the Maori side so they could take over. But we're teetering on the edge now, Pakeha. Okay, we've got to do something here. And this is why this movement has been born. And it's going to be created by the people. It's the people that are going to actually use it as a channel and, a headquarters. As an umbrella movement where other people can be supported, other people can be promoted. You know, there's a lot of plans that we've got for this year to get more media, like have podcasts and start interviewing people about how all of this is impacting us. It's having a harmful effect. We're becoming victims. Okay, we're just going to say exactly the same things as the Maori have said for 50 years because it's true. Okay, we're the ones that are marginalised and suppressed. It's us, if you really notice it. The Indians, they've got hundreds of organisations and they're highly funded by the government. They've got special ministers to talk to their leaders. You know, they've got councils. We're the only race in this country that does not have an ethnic council. It would be racist, apparently. We've got to break through those stupid labels, okay, and stop being a traitor to your own heritage. You've got to make a choice. What waka are you going to be sitting in, okay? Is your lamp burning bright when God comes along? Are your lintels anointed with the Christ? Because any day we could have a disaster. What if there was an earthquake and the internet shut down? Who are you going to go to and what have you got? How are you prepared? Because part of this ministry is preparedness. Very much about preparedness. It's about preserving our culture. And it's about fostering unity amongst Pakeha. We've got to use that name. It's a legal name. We're going to court. Please. Please understand, you don't have to be called a Pakeha. Just don't rubbish my Pakeha page. Just don't rubbish the fact that I'm doing God's work here. I don't expect you to understand everything. Just telling you, don't come on my page and rubbish the Pakeha title. Okay, we're doing God's work. I'm not going to have anyone say, I don't want to be called. You don't have to be called a Pakeha, okay? I'm just promoting and branding it all. And I'm starting a movement and a leadership. We need leadership. We don't have any as an ethnic people. We don't. They think, oh, the government is just our leadership. No, they're not. The government is not a race, and the government does not just work for Pakeha. Okay? Nobody's working for us. We don't have a Crown Relations Minister. Where's our 100 clan trusts, organisations, where we can identify with a clan? Where are they? Where's that for us? No one's going to provide that for us. We can't even get cultural funding because we're not on the list. Every single other race in the world can get cultural funding here, except if you're from the UK. If you're from the UK, no. Especially if you're English. Oh no, if you want to do something to celebrate colonialism, I'm going to give you the money. We've got to rely on philanthropy, like really wealthy Pakeha people who are patriots, who don't want to have their face out there, but they just want to be a quiet financer in the background. We need you, please. I don't have money. I'm not that component. We've got to have a financial component. I'm sorry, it's not going to be me. If I had a lot of money, I would be just doing it. I would be doing a lot if I had the money to do it. But I just don't. This is how God gets people to work together. Okay? One person's got the treasury. The other person's got the ideas and the prophetic. The other person is a teacher. The other person travels and takes messages and evangelizes. This is how the church body works. Okay? I really would like people to fund this. We need funding to start an organisation to begin with. Then we can have a trust account. So nobody has to put money into somebody's personal bank account. They know that it's a trust account, and they're more likely and feel more safe about giving their money to that. But we've got to have some kind of a setup, and we've got to do it really soon. And I don't have the money to set up an organisation, so other people have to donate or give a lump sum. Like, I don't know what it costs to set up an organisation, but we need to have some some documents drawn up and written, and probably should have a solicitor on the trust board. Okay, so that's going to be like $3,000. If I have to borrow it, I will. But I'm hoping that God's going to move somebody's heart to give, because our movement is going to need money. We're going to need to be donated to. We don't know exactly how we want to set up yet. Other people need to help shape and frame it. Okay, if you want to be a framer and a shaper of your children's future in this wonderful country we had once, then come on board with us. Email in the first instance. I'll put it in the comments below. And then you can get on our email list for our newsletters and keep you in the loop and up to date. There's so many ideas that people can do. There's a lot of opportunities knocking here. We're going to be the next cultural megatrend. Everybody's got Maori fatigue. And the whole thing is actually quite oppressive in itself. And it's bullying and it's intimidating. So that's about all I've got to say tonight. If you want to know more about the Magna Carta and all that sort of thing, in time as we go and we grow, we're going to set up a common law office so people can come in and have a look at the paperwork and be helped and assisted and served in that area to keep your family safe and prepare for the future and have those tools in your kit. The Queen wants to serve, and she wants to know what you want her to do. I'm on the chessboard, and boy, I can tell you what, there's not much a Queen can't do. I mean, once we set up as an organisation and I get coronated and just a few people acknowledge me, I'm going to have a photo shoot done. I'm going to be writing to anybody in the world. I'm going to be writing to President Trump. I'm going to be writing to the government. I'm going to be writing everywhere to the King of England. And I'm just going to be going flat tack. Okay, because I've got an anointing behind me and I have the authority and I have the knowledge. Okay, and I have the fearlessness too, and that's the most important thing. So I hope you got something out of that tonight. I'll be on again in another couple of days and with some other topic, okay, that I'm interested in, that I have knowledge in, and that I'm going to be setting up branches eventually. If you can't visualize it, then you're never going to reach there. You've got to believe, you've got to have a goal, you've got to have an objective, and you've got to have strategies, and you've got to have the drive. Okay, and you've really got to just pray to God, even though you don't believe in Him. Pray that He will direct you into the right space, in the right place with the right people. Okay, we've got to convene together because it's our job to restabilise this country. We were sent to be the guardians. We have to be the guardians, as the other race of the treaty has gone rogue. Okay, so we've got to come in and take that rightful place and proclaim it and declare it and do those documents and set ourselves up, and we just walk in authority and we get more and more and more and more people on board. Okay, and this is what works. This is our redress. It's already there for us. Okay, it's already there for us to work, and we just don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to do what works. So I hope that had some take-home value. I'll see you next time. Love ya. Bye.